Greetings, friends. My name is David McLeod. I am your life mastery coach, and this is MagnifEssence in Motion. Today, we're talking about something that I think is really, really important and something that perhaps we don't spend enough time talking about. And I'm calling this intentional nutrition, boundless passion. You know, we often treat our bodies like they're high-performance vehicles, but we fuel them with whatever happens to be idling at the drive-through window. Have you noticed that? I know I've done a lot of that in my life. When we shift our focus toward conscious, intentional nutrition, we begin to realize that food is not merely caloric intake. It's the physical foundation of our vitality and a powerful catalyst for spiritual growth. So for this episode, I have invited my good friend and colleague, Ricki McKenna, to join me today. She is a seasoned nutritionist. She's a best-selling author. She's a coach. She's a television host, and she's just a lot of fun to be around. So she's going to help us navigate this journey towards better health. Come on, camera here. Ricki, let's get started. I'm so delighted that you were able to join me again.
Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever we are. Hi, David.
Yeah, well, you're in the mountains there, it looks like.
You betcha.
Oh, wait, I see. That's one of those background thingies. And it's a great one.
But it's a very similar view to what I actually have from my house.
Oh, very nice.
It's a little cottage in the mountains of Basalt, Colorado.
Yeah,
Tiny.
Yeah, I've only been to Colorado a couple of times in my life, and it really is a beautiful place, especially up in the mountains.
Yep.
Denver, isn't that called the Mile High City?
Yes.
Yeah. And I suppose where you are, it's even higher than a mile. You're probably like 7,000 or 8,000 feet or something.
No, actually, we're at 6,500. Basalt is between I-70 and Glenwood Springs and about 23 miles from Aspen. So I'm in that there's a corridor. It's called the Roaring Fork Valley. Nice. It is simply wonderful.
And you've been there now for 3 or 4 years, I think. Is that right?
Well, actually, I moved up here first in 1999.
Right.
And then in 2014, I went back to Houston, where I'd come from. Mm-hmm. I'm not from Houston. I'm from New York originally. But I moved back to Houston because of family matters and was there for about 11 years and met my new husband. We got married about 9 months ago. What's May? I think it's 9 months.
Right. Well, it'll be a year and 2 months. How about that?
You're right. A year and 2 months. Thank you.
Oh, wait, we're in April already. So it's not quite 2 months.
Actually, It's a month. It's actually, wow. Time flies when you're having fun.
That's right.
But we got married and we moved the next month. I mean, after being single, my first husband passed away. And I was single for 20 some odd years, went back to Houston for family and met a gentleman who's the love of my life. So, and I said to him, I've had it with Houston. I'm out of here. Let's move to my condo. And he looked at me like I had two heads. But he finally succumbed. He'd come up and visited a few times. And here we are. And
that's great.
The only thing I miss my friends, and I miss actually our Unity group. But let me tell you, this is home. My heart's here.
Well, one thing is sure, you probably have a whole lot cleaner air where you live, and probably nicer water and all the other things that many of us would crave. And given that you're so focused on nutrition and health and stuff, that must be a big plus for you.
Oh, it's been super. It really has. And what's interesting is going to Whole Foods and the other grocery stores up here, I keep running into people I knew 14 years ago or 12 years ago. And it's a lot of fun. It really is reconnecting with people, see what's happened with them, and just recreating our lives together now. And
that's beautiful.
Life is beautiful, and it's all what you make it. So
isn't that the truth? Isn't that the truth?
Absolutely.
So let's get started then. I mean, you and I have had many conversations about
Yeah.
nutrition and, you know, cooking and stuff. And I know that this is a huge passion for you. You have your own program, isn't it called Ricki's Kitchen? Isn't that right?
It is definitely called Ricki's Kitchen. And it's interesting because it kind of morphed from, well, we started in 2020 online, and it morphed from pantuitive, well, it was pandemic cooking or something. I don't even remember at this point. But it became pantuitive cooking, which is what I have written on my chef coats, because I use my intuition. Besides recipes, I create recipes, and it's just a matter of having a darn good time in the kitchen with what we call, and I love the way you put this in the promo, leftovers are not a failure of planning. They are a masterpiece of time and budget management waiting to happen. I love that. I really do.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you like that.
Yeah, I do. You're extremely clever when it comes to things like that, and I appreciate that. But at any rate, it's morphed into, I still do it on Thursdays. I am about to change the time. It has been at 11 a.m., whether it was Central Time, and now I'm in Mountain Time, so we start at the same time. But I'm going to change to a 5 o'clock afternoon spot for several reasons. I think people can cook along with me, and they have the invitation on my website, rickiskitchen.net. And even if they don't cook along with me, because I'll give out the recipes that we're going to do prior to the session, they can see what goes on at that time of day and how to make things easy for them in the kitchen. Easier,
you know, I think
quicker.
That's a fabulous idea. I think that's a wonderful idea. I can just, well, sometimes cooking can be quite a chore, especially if you've got a fairly big family and you've got, you know, you've got a job as well, you know, and you're coming home and you have to make a dinner. It's nice to have some company to you know, to make you laugh and have some fun with the ingredients that you're playing with, and put something together live. I think that's a wonderful idea. So well done. Good for you.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because I think I'll give it a few weeks for people to get the idea with my mailings. And if you want to be on my mailing list, please do me a favor, David. If you put up, how do you put up thingies for people to see? Or I could put it in the chat, I guess.
Well, why don't you just drop a link into the chat there, and people can click on it. And say what it is as well, so people who are watching the recording can hear what you're saying. Okay, because right now, oh boy, you're asking a lot of me at this point. I'm fine in the kitchen, but the computer is kind of my challenge area. I can handle a lot of things, but okay, I'll put the link in. It's rickiskitchen.net. Right, and that's RICKIS. Ricki's Kitchen, spelt the normal way, .net. So you can go there and you can connect with Ricki. I'm sure you have a contact page on your website, right? And people can reach out that way. Yeah. Yes. And do you also publish your email address there as well? It's Ricki at rickiskitchen.net. See, there you go. It's just that easy. Yeah. Okay. So people can reach out to you and connect with you that way and find out more about what you do. Yes, and if they will text the word kitchen to my phone with their question or comment or whatever, I will answer. But that word kitchen has to be in there. I'm going to write that in the chat too. Give me 2 seconds here. Yeah. Okay. So I think, what I want to say about this is MagnifEssence in Motion is really all about helping people to know, embrace, express, and experience the full truth of who they really are. And one of the aspects of that, of course, is having some kind of passion, right? And all of us have a purpose in life. I know that. But we may not always know what that purpose is. And not only that, I think that sometimes our passion and our purpose can get clouded from our awareness when we're not living in full health. And so this is why this topic is so important. The idea of making intentional choices about the food we eat, about about nutrition in general. And then, starting to live according to those choices, that helps to put us back in alignment with who we really are. And so that means that our passion can blossom. So that's really what we're going to be talking about today. And I see Ricki has put her stuff in the chat there. So anybody who's here will be able to see that. And it's basically Ricki at rickiskitchen.net. Text quote kitchen to, I don't want to say your email live here, or your phone number.
My phone? No, if people are on,
if you
that's
want
fine.
to include that, I will put it in the notes, the show notes for the video. But I don't want to say it. I don't want hackers or whatever, scammers coming after you. Anyway, so why don't we just dive in here? We've got a lot to cover in a short time. So let's talk about this idea of small, scalable shifts. Many of us, when we think of change, we get scared because we think the change is so massive. But it doesn't have to be massive. Nope. So why don't you talk a little bit about how you build consistency on small habits that stick?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's actually, sometimes it's tough. Many people have some challenges with changing things, but don't look at it as changing things unless you want to look at it as something that's really going to help you. It is not difficult to buy one new vegetable per week. And this is one of the things that I suggest. Get one new vegetable a week. Use your phone if you have to. Call me or go to my Patreon page. I need to put that in there as well. It's patreon.com/Ricki's Kitchen. You'll find about 165 recipes for everything from soup to nuts and a lot of things in between. But if you're having
a recipe for nuts,
you betcha. And some of them are on 2 feet, but we don't cook those. We just feed them. Yeah. No, seriously, the little shifts that you can make. Try one vegetable a week and look for information on how to cook it. Even I look up some things because I don't know everything, but I sure know a lot more than most people about food. And as a matter of fact, something like jackfruit. Have you ever heard of jackfruit, David?
I've heard of it. I don't think I've ever had a taste of it.
Okay. Jackfruit's an interesting fruit because it can have a texture that is like meat. Actually, I had some in a chili prepared by someone the other night that was fabulous. If you're looking for vegan and vegetarian opportunities, but I would purchase it in a can. It comes in a can. You can buy it organically at Whole Foods and several other places. Look for it's JACK fruit. And it has a texture like meat. It's similar to something like seitan, which is another foreign word to most people. Seitan is another substitute for meat, and it's actually made from gluten, from wheat. And it's you're better to buy it than try to make it. I had a partner in a food business where we made soups for years, where she made her own seitan. It's a process. So that too can be purchased organically and in packages. And you use it just like you would meat. For example, I cut up some, it comes in a package, the ones that are sealed. They take all the air out. And you open it up and you just slice it like you would a piece of chicken breast. And then you season it up as you would a piece of chicken breast. Or if you chop it up, you can use it in chili. If you're making a meatless chili, this gives you the protein from the seitan or the jackfruit. If you chop something like that and put it into chili, gives it more texture. And I mean, these are two wonderful things you can use for meat substitutes. So there's one thing. It's not a vegetable, but they're meat substitutes.
Before you move on, so what are the benefits? What are the nutritional benefits of those two particular ingredients that you mentioned? Okay.
Seitan contains, this is not good for people who are gluten sensitive, but the jackfruit doesn't have any gluten in it. So if you're gluten sensitive, I would use jackfruit, or I would use something like tempeh or tofu. Those are two big advantages for people who have problems either with celiac or even just a sensitivity to gluten. And all you need is a fingernail's worth of gluten if you're celiac, and you can have some horrible stomach aches and whatever else affects a person with that problem. So those are two excellent substitutes for people with any kind of sensitivities to wheat or gluten.
Okay.
Excuse me, one alternative for it. For somebody who's vegan or vegetarian, those are great substitutes for meats. If you're definitely a vegan or vegetarian, these are two good nutritional substitutes for meats in your dishes.
So they're mostly protein substitutes, or do they have other nutritional elements in them?
They have other nutritional. I don't have the list with me, and that's one of the things that I don't usually memorize.
Sure.
But at any rate, take my word for it, they're good. And it's interesting because my husband, who likes meat, I've kind of moved him over little by little changes, subtle changes, into the other night. I took the seitan and I sliced it and I seasoned it up and I sauteed it like I would a chicken breast. And he enjoyed it thoroughly. He said it was delicious. It's the seasoning. It's not just the object itself. Same as if you make a soup. I thought I had a wonderful soup yesterday at a restaurant. I hadn't had New England clam chowder in years. And I thought, well, it's kind of chilly. It was cool up here and raining. So I got a bowl of New England clam chowder. And frankly, it was tasty, but really kind of bland. And I like things with flavor. You'll bring more people back with flavor, especially if you're trying a new vegetable, than just putting things together. And not just salt and pepper. There's a whole world of herbs, spices, and things with which you can season a food out there. And this is something that I also recommend to people. Trying something new, the power of those small little scalable shifts. As you said, radical change is not necessary. Just one thing a week. Try a new spice along with a vegetable. How many people have even tried something like sumac? That's SUMAC. And it is incredible. Yeah, it's a wonderful spice. It's kind of
and you know what's interesting? I remember when I was a kid, we lived in Canada, and there was this thing called poison sumac. So it was kind of like a cousin of poison ivy.
No, I don't believe it has anything to do with poison ivy or sumac. And we had those on Long Island where I grew up too, David. And we learned the difference.
I'm bringing it up because I'm sure that other people will have had that same experience.
Yeah. But no, this is sumac, and you buy it in the grocery store in a jar. It's kind of a deep reddish brown. And the way I learned about it was very interesting. We were having dinner in a Persian restaurant, and I ordered hummus. And the hummus came, and it had incredible flavor, besides the usual olive oil and tahini and, chickpeas and whatever goes into making hummus. This hummus was really delicious, and I asked the waiter. And out he came with a little container, the little tiny plastic containers. He said, "Here, it's sumac. That's what's in it." So I took it home. And I took our hummus at home, which was probably just pine nut hummus, and I sprinkled a little bit of the sumac in it. And sure enough, it had that same real deep flavor. It's a depth of flavor that you don't get normally in most hummus or anything with chickpeas and tahini, which are pretty bland. So that's one thing you can try. It's a fun. You can use it with chicken. You can use it with a number of different things. If you have any questions, give me a call or look it up on your phone. Saint Google.
Well, I'm going to have to go check that out for sure. Yeah.
Oh, yes. SUMAC.
Right.
And it has nothing to do with the plant.
I'm still going to have my mind saying, "Oh, this is poison. Be careful."
Okay. Besides,
obviously, they're not going to. Well, I was going to say, obviously, they're not going to put poison on the shelves, but some of the stuff on the shelves actually kind of is
Good
poison.
point. Excellent point. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I've done some research with looking at the food industry in the United States, and we have lots of wonderful things to be proud of. However, the packaged food industry, I don't personally think, and there are a lot of us in the same industry that I'm in, who feel as though packaged foods should be left in the shelves and
Right.
go for the stuff around the perimeter. I used to tell people, put your roller skates on and go around the perimeter to buy your food. Fresh food is far more.
Absolutely. I think
Whoa.
if there's one thing that people get out of this, I hope they get the idea that as much as possible, avoid processed foods and stick with, normal, fresh fruits and vegetables. Yes, there's more work involved, but in the end, it's the cost, even though you might pay more for unprocessed foods, you're not going to be paying for the medical bills after the fact when you eat too much of the processed foods. This is the thing that people don't really think about, because that's a future cost. That's a future cost. They don't think about future costs. They think about what I've got in my pocketbook right now and how much I can afford to spend right now.
Right.
I think a little bit of a mind shift is important. When I go shopping, I try to pick only the best quality stuff. And the best quality stuff doesn't necessarily have to be organic.
Nope.
Nope.
It has to be clean. And that brings up a couple of other things, David. The idea that when you're buying fresh produce, my suggestion, and I do this myself, so it's not just an idea. And hi, Eileen. Speaking of buying fresh food, Eileen is one person who does that and prepares her own meals. And therefore, she's very healthy. When you're buying fresh food, when you bring it home, wash it and put it away in your refrigerator or wherever it goes, particularly fresh vegetables and fruits. Put them in your refrigerator, or some fruits and vegetables can be left out, tomatoes, for example, and apples and so forth. But get a good veggie wash. I use something from a company. Well, they're preparing a new one. It's called Live Good, but that's another time. Prepare your vegetables, wash them carefully. Make sure you dry them carefully. If you don't have a lettuce spinner, purchase one, because it's an excellent gadget for the kitchen, and it takes most of the moisture out of any kind of leafy green vegetables. And then what I suggest for people, this is one of the tips that I have. Once you've done that, you've washed it, you've dried it, and you've gotten it as moisture-less as possible, because it'll keep better in your refrigerator that way and keep longer. It won't wilt. Wrap it in a paper towel and put it in something called green bags. You can purchase them on Amazon. I wish I got a commission for every time I've recommended green bags, but they're wonderful. Or a plastic bag and seal it. But remember, wash it, dry it, put it in paper towels, or even if you have cotton towels that you use. The idea is to keep the moisture and the condensation from getting around the vegetables, so they last longer. They'll stay in your refrigerator for at least a week, and hopefully you use them up before that. But wash them first, put them in the refrigerator. They're ready for you to use. That's the whole point. When you get home from work and you want to throw something together, they're there. They're ready. And anything that comes in a can, if you buy the second best to fresh, is always frozen, because most of the vegetables and fruits that are frozen at their peak of ripeness, so that you're going to get the full flavor and the full nutritional value of them. The third thing would be in cans, but usually I will look for organic foods, but read the labels, because sometimes in those cans, there are some additives that you really don't want to put in your body, especially if you can't pronounce them. And even if you can, there's a few things that you don't want to put in, like carrageenan and a number of other things that are petroleum products. Believe it or not,
That's
The
right.
industry
Yep.
does that as preservatives, and there's some of them that'll stay for the next 100 years on the inside of the the aisles with the packages. So
Well,
that's
I wanted to say something here first. Um, the idea first, I love the idea of washing and getting a proper wash.
Mhm.
Okay, if you at least rinse your stuff, that's a good start. But there's still things on the outsides of these plants that you want to be careful about, and make sure that you try and get as much of that off as possible, so that all you're eating is the plant itself and not some of the other goodies that, let's say,
Or
the farmers
baddies.
put on them to protect them. So one thing I heard, now you can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I heard that baking soda was a good way to wash plants as well. That
Mhm.
you just mix some baking soda in water, and then you just kind of
Yes. Soak it.
flush it through, and then afterwards give it another rinse. And
Yes.
I love this idea. I do this myself with paper towel. First of all, get as much moisture off as possible. Like
Right.
when I wash apples, for example, or avocado, when I bring them home, I wash them and then I let them sit and dry. Then I dry them fully and put them away so they can ripen
Yep.
wherever they do that. That's what I do, and it doesn't cost much. And here's another thing I wanted to say,
It
because
saves
before we move
time.
on,
It saves time,
in the
David.
event, you spend all the time washing all your apples at once, and it's much quicker than washing one
Mhm.
at a time later. Anyway, I was going to say, if you have the wherewithal, the space, and the maybe the green thumb, try growing your own stuff. Because first of all,
Mhm.
everything about where that was grown, how it was produced, all the stuff that you know everything. There is nothing
Yep.
you don't know about it. And so really, you could take something right out of your garden and practically eat it right from there. That's how good it is. And
I've
the
done that.
taste, oh my God, it is so much better.
Taste is much,
So,
much better. I'll give you an example of that. It's very interesting. Growing kale, one of my favorite
yeah,
vegetables. And the difference between growing kale in your own place, and it takes a little bit of room, but you can do it in pots. That's what
right.
I do. Richard said, oh, he's gotten used to it though. Kale's bitter, and a lot of people consider kale to be bitter. There are several different kinds of kale, at least 3. I like the lacinato kale. It's the long, skinny leaves with kind of bumps. And what I do with that is make a salad. And the fresh kale out of the garden tastes so completely different from packaging it, buying it in the store. Sometimes if you can get it fresh and hopefully organic, it's really good, and it's good for you because it helps your blood flow, and it gives you lots of minerals and vitamins. I'm not going to go into the details. Suffice it to say that green leafy vegetables out of your garden will taste a heck of a lot better than something that you buy even at a farmer's market. Keep your fingers crossed that they've been produced there and they're produced organically. But really, truly, if you have the space, or I just bought literally 2 20-inch diameter pots so that I could plant parsley, chives. I've got a little spinach, and I probably will put in some arugula, which is one of my favorite greens. And you won't believe the difference in the taste, and they're not difficult to grow, and you don't need pots that big. You can grow
Well, and
a
something
pot,
else. This is
6-inch
this
pot,
is also important.
parsley.
Yeah, parsley. You have all those fresh herbs and
Yep.
vegetables. But one thing that you mentioned, they take a little room, and it's true. Now, I remember I wanted to grow some kale, so I bought seed. Now, when you have the tiny little seed, you think, oh, I need a whole bunch of these. No, you don't
No.
need a whole bunch. Believe me, when one of those seeds takes, it's going to grow like this, and it's going to be
Right.
massive in comparison to the seed itself. So the directions on the seed packet really ought to be followed. Space them like 12 inches apart minimum, and believe me, they're going to be big. So you probably only need 1 or 2 of them just to take care of your
Share with your
family.
friends.
Yeah, that's right.
And-
Well, I mean, it depends how much space you've got. If you've got a
Yeah,
big enough
it
space
does.
to grow all kinds of stuff, absolutely share it with your friends.
Well,
But I
how
wanted
many
to just mention that.
Okay, thank you. I think it's a good point because I've grown basil. Basil's like growing weeds,
Oh my God.
and it's
Yeah, it's a
wonderful
weed.
in your everything from, believe it or not, tea and almost any vegetable or even meats are wonderful with basil. And the other thing about basil that you need to know is it helps settle your stomach along with
Right.
mint. And you can make teas from that. And the thing is, they're so accessible and you don't need tons of room. You know, for example, the kitchen, you've got a window, get a couple of pots and try growing one or two things at a time. It's fun. And if you have kids, they love it. So, anyway, the one thing I wanted to mention, we haven't gotten there yet. When you're doing all the stuff with the vegetables and you've got stuff in your refrigerator and you made a wonderful meal, for example, I took onions and kale, chopped up both of them, put them in a pan with some olive oil and a little bit of lemon pepper, one of my favorite seasonings. And then I let that simmer for a little bit, took a little bit of white wine, or if you're not into wine, you can still use water or even some sort of juice, just a little to give it some moisture. And then I put in some shrimp, some fresh, raw, peeled, deveined shrimp. Easy meal. And it cooks in about 5 minutes, but you put your veggies in first so that they soften a little bit, especially the onions. And then you put your shrimp cook in about 6 minutes altogether from both sides. So you've got a great meal. If you're looking for something and you're not a shrimp eater or a fish eater or even a meat eater, use some tofu. Put your greens in first, get them sauteing and season them up with whatever you like, and then just throw in your meat or meat substitute. It's fabulous. An easy
Yeah,
meal.
and
Yeah.
I don't know about the rest of the people here, but I'll tell you, my mouth is watering right now. So just think about this, friends. It doesn't take a lot of work to
Nope.
come up with a really, really simple recipe. What Ricki just described, I think there were 4, maybe 5 ingredients in that. Yeah. Well, I mean,
Onions?
I'm counting the
Yeah.
olive oil and the lemon
Oh,
pepper
okay.
and the other
Right.
stuff. So
Right.
all of
Simple.
those ingredients, most of us have most of those things most of the time. You may not always have shrimp and you may not have lemon pepper, but you almost certainly have olive oil and you probably have some
Salt and pepper.
kale or some other kind of vegetable that you like, and you probably have onion. So you can probably do this fairly easily on a regular basis. If not, take Ricki's other advice and go try some kale. Go buy some kale at the grocery store.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Another thing, Ricki, I gotta say, I love onions, but I've recently discovered shallots.
Yes.
And oh my God, I love shallots. They are so good.
The little
So I'm
different
spending
flavor.
way more money on onions than I should right now.
They're still in the same family. It's the allium family, which is excellent, by the way, as far as keeping your body healthy. There's and garlic as well. I also threw in a little bit of garlic with the shrimp. But what I wanted to get to was the art of culinary recreation is something you mentioned in your email, which I love. And as I said earlier, leftovers are not failure to plan. They're a masterpiece of time and budget management waiting to be created, waiting to happen. And if there's some of those shrimp left over, which there usually isn't, but take the greens. If there's some left over, you can recreate that, add more to it. It's something that can be continued, and it's really simple. Store in glass. There's another little factoid I'd like people to know. When you can, if you're buying, let's say you're buying a big jar of artichoke hearts, they come in huge jars. When you're finished eating the food that's in your jars, wash the label off, put it through your dishwasher, sterilize it somehow, and you've got a great container for leftovers, or for if you're making soup like I do. I use the big jars for my soup, and those can be frozen. If you're freezing in glass, though, leave space at least an inch between the food and the top of the jar, and let it cool before you put it in the freezer. This is an example of some of the things that I actually teach online in my classes on Thursdays. Oh, and another thing I wanted to mention, I know we're kind of going all around in circles here.
We're all around in circles. I love it.
Okay, pairing foods. You mentioned
Pairing.
something. Yes,
Yeah.
pairing. For example, take a root vegetable. Root vegetables don't have a lot of fat, like beets, for one of my very favorites, especially gold beets. And when I buy beets, I buy the fresh ones, and I look for the freshest greens, because in the greens is a ton of nutrient, and it's so nutritionally good. The fresher the greens are, the fresher those beets are going to be, or beetroot,
Right.
as they call them all over the rest of the world. And what I find is taking something like that, a root vegetable, whether it's carrots or beets or, turnips, something like that. When you cook them with a fat, or serve them with a fat, because the fats help the A, D, E, and K vitamins in the foods that you're cooking to be absorbed. They're called fat-soluble vitamins. That's A, D, E, and K. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, I think of the word DEC, but DEAK. That makes it easy. Those are 4 of the fat-soluble vitamins, which means they need some sort of fat to help them really be absorbed and utilized in your body. So I would recommend serving something with an avocado in your salad. Serve a little olive oil in your salad. Just somehow bring in the fat to pair with the vegetable, and you'll get much better absorption, because you really are what you absorb, not just what you eat. The other thing about that is, when you're looking for fats, there are good fats, and your body needs them, obviously, to absorb these vitamins that are in the foods. Look for things like avocados, nuts, tahini, hummus, even something like adding chopped walnuts to any kind of a dish that you're doing, or in your salad. You can put walnuts, any kind of nuts, in a salad. And the other thing that I wanted to talk about is food combining. If anybody's having digestive problems after eating a meal, and then you have a big bowl of fruit, or you have a fruit cocktail, which really should come before a meal, fruits digest much faster than everything else in the food department. And if you're putting the fruits on top of a big meal, whether you're eating shrimp or meat or, whatever, even cheese, eat your fruit beforehand. Remember old-fashioned fruit cocktails, David? I remember as a kid, we used to have.
Yes. The way I remember it is that, the canned stuff with some peaches, some pears, and some maraschino cherries mixed in.
Oh.
That's what I remember. To me, that was a fruit cocktail. But what a real fruit cocktail to me is, I don't even call it cocktail anymore. I call it fruit salad, because you just take chunks of fruit and mix it together and let the juice from the fruit just kind of come out on its own. You don't need to add anything. Yeah.
Yep. And they're great. I love smoothies.
Those are good.
Yep.
Yeah.
I like fruit smoothies, and I like to mix, of course, a protein powder with fruit in a smoothie, as well as a number of other things. I've even thrown avocados in there. And by the way, I have a wonderful recipe for avocado chocolate pudding. If anybody's into chocolate, it's really yummy.
That sounds fun.
Let's see, what else?
I do a fruit. It's not just fruit. I do a smoothie pretty much, about 6 times a week. And it's got a lot of great ingredients that I love. A few fruits like orange. I do 2 lemons in my smoothie. I do avocado. I do apple. I do sometimes pineapple when I have it. Carrots, celery, tomato. Those are all going in my smoothie, and along with my protein powders and a few other things. And believe me, I love those smoothies, and they love me.
I have a question for you. When you use a lemon, or you use an orange, or pieces of it, do you use the whole fruit, including the skin, the peel?
Well, I tried doing the peel. My body doesn't like the peel too much. Although I love it in marmalade. In marmalade,
Mm-hmm.
because then
Okay.
it's been cooked and softened, and it doesn't irritate me quite as much. But yes, I use the whole fruit other than the peel.
Okay. Because the peel in a citrus fruit, especially lemons, limes, oranges, is where the nutrients are. They're far more concentrated in there. You know what you can do, and it probably work? Zest it.
Yeah,
Zest
I've
your
done that.
oranges, zest
Right,
your
right, right.
citrus fruits. Make sure you clean them
Yeah,
first.
of
And
course.
the
Yeah,
other thing is my motto is scrub, don't peel. And that includes sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, carrots, anything where you can use the peel, even beets. I will scrub. I have been known to use one of those blue sponges with the scrubby side to do
sure.
things like beets and
Right,
turnips and rutabagas, and carrots as well, because the peel is where the concentrate is, the concentrated nutrients. So you get far more worth from your vegetable or fruit. And I noticed that if you've ever had Meyer lemons, which are actually a hybrid of lemon and mandarin oranges, they're much sweeter than regular lemons. The peels are softer, but there's so much nutrition in those. And I can actually eat the whole lemon, which I can't with
right.
a regular lemon. My kids used to do that, and I was just worried about the enamel coming off their teeth. But but
Well,
they still
I
have their
think
teeth.
yeah, there's a lot of what they call old wives' tales about
Exactly.
lemon.
And it
You know,
changes every day.
right. And here's what I have learned about lemons. It's true that they have an acidic quality to them. But when you take a fresh lemon, the moment you cut it, it's quite alkaline. You cut
And
it and
when,
you
yes,
use it. It remains alkaline for probably about an hour or so after it's been juiced. Um, After
and
that, the acidity starts to go up, and so the pH level goes up higher. So yes, you want to be careful. Like that's why bottled lemon juice is probably not that good for you. But
well,
fresh
yeah.
lemons, I buy fresh lemon. I go through a bag of lemons every week now.
Hmm. And one of the things about lemons, though, is actually once you eat them in your system, the hydrochloric acid in your stomach converts things so they become what they call alkaline ash. So lemons are actually extremely helpful as far
Right.
as not being acidic. They taste
Yeah.
acidic, but once your fluids get through with digesting it, it turns into alkaline. And
Yeah,
there's
that's
another
amazing.
good point about lemons, just for fun, something I learned years ago. If someone in your family has a fever, lemon juice, fresh lemon juice, drops of it on your tongue, and just keep doing it until the fever drops. This is
Yeah,
where
it's pretty
food
amazing,
is
isn't it?
truly medicine. And
It
when
is.
you're
Yeah.
combining foods, the idea is to combine those things that complement one another.
Right.
That's where I talked about doing the fruit first and then taking other things like, well, when you combine a potato with a meat, you've got some digestive things going on there, both of them. And I'm not knocking, meats and potatoes, but you think about food combining. There are charts that can be, I have them available. There are charts online that you can find that actually show you how to combine different foods, which is very important for digestive, because one of the things I get from clients almost consistently are digestive challenges. They're having either stomach aches, or they can't poop, or they're pooping too much. And it's just amazing what the combination of foods, if you know what you're doing, putting things together, makes life a
Right.
lot easier and a lot more comfortable. And
That's
the other
that
thing I
is so
want to say
true.
is, yeah, eating when you're stressed out. How many people have grabbed for a lot of different things when they're stressed? I have.
Hmm.
But what I found is grab for veggies, grab a stalk of celery and have that prepared. By the way, if you store your celery in the refrigerator in a glass with water and cut it to just so it fits in the glass and most of it's in the water, it'll stay for a long time and it'll be nice and crispy when you get to it. Other than that, you can still wrap it, clean it, dry it, and wrap it in the paper towel and put it in your vegetables bar container compartment. Yeah.
Well, I it's funny you mentioned celery. I know that there's a big movement these days for massive quantities of celery juice. And I don't know if you've heard of that, but there's this guy, what he calls himself, the medical medium. I can't remember his real name, but and that's what he promotes is approximately 16 ounces of straight celery juice. Now, anybody who knows anything about juicing, I can tell you 16 ounces is like almost one full stalk of celery. And I know this because I did it. I did it for several days. And
what happened?
This is my warning to people. I don't want you to go through what I went through. Let's just say that after I had been doing that for a couple of weeks, my body went into this kind of weird reaction where I had, I hate to use the D word, but it was diarrhea. I mean, I was
expecting
really bad diarrhea for 3 weeks. Even after I stopped doing the celery juice, it took me that long to recover. Now, I stopped doing celery juice altogether because of that. And I thought, this is crazy. I can't believe I'm the only person who experienced it. So I did a little research, and yes, it is a common problem. So I think the idea of celery juice is good, but start off slowly and don't use too much of it. The 16 ounces, believe me, I think that's way too much. So
you could use that for making soup, David.
Well, now I use one little, what do you call? I don't even know what you call the single.
A stalk.
Yeah, but it was not. What's the whole thing called? A bunch of celery? I don't know. Anyway, I use one stalk of celery now. Cut it and shape it and put it into my juicer when I'm doing all the other stuff. So it's blended with those other vegetables and it reduces the intensity, believe me.
Okay. Celery is also loaded with sodium, but it's natural sodium that's usually good for you, but not in excess.
Right. Well, maybe that's part of the reason that I reacted.
Could be
too much sodium in one whole bunch of celery. Anyway, just my warning.
Anything
this
in
is
excess
your public
like
service
that.
announcement, and the last time I'm going to say it.
No, I'm going to just comment on that if you don't mind. Anything in excess can upset the balance of your digestive system. And if I'd ever gotten a tattoo, it would be right here. It's the yin yang symbol for balance. And you want to keep your body in balance. Food does that. When you combine things smartly, carefully, and not in excess. That's why I said try one new vegetable a week. If you want to try two, that's fine. But what I'm saying is slow, small, scalable shifts. Slow, small, smart, scalable. And by scalable, I mean you can measure what goes on. Change something, exchange something for something else. And I can give you a whole list of things like that.
Right.
Those are the things that allow your body to get used to the fiber, which celery has, and so do many other vegetables. Most of your vegetables are where you find, and fruits, where you find fiber. And know something about fruits. If you're afraid of eating too many fruits because of the sugar, fructose, same as the celery idea, David. Take it in measurable small amounts. Your requirements for fruits and vegetable are something like, I think, I'm not sure what the FDA is recommending, but I kind of don't always listen to what the FDA recommends.
Well, I would recommend not listening to the FDA at all, to be honest.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say that.
Did I say that on a live recording? Oh my goodness, sorry.
You can say that because frankly, I would go to some place like me or my website or something called the Food Revolution Network, which has extremely practical information available, as well as going to someplace like EWG, environmentalworksgroup.org, on your computer to find out which vegetables and fruits are produced organically for the most part, which is the ones you should eat, like strawberries, apples. Those are the ones that aren't nailed with a lot of pesticides and herbicides, that type of thing. You want your food to be what nature produced. And nature did a good job, doesn't often make any mistakes, or if at all. Things like, I've got a whole list here. On top of the list is spinach and strawberries.
We haven't got time to go through the whole list, Eileen. Not Eileen. I mean, sorry, Ricki. I noticed that Eileen did say something which I thought was great. Another little motto for you here: slow, small, smart, scalable, shift. 5 S's for you. And so this allows your body to get used to changes with what you eat. It's a great formula.
Especially if you're adding the vegetables, because vegetables have fiber, which is a necessary part of your diet. And I'm happy to get fiber from fruits and vegetables rather than from a bottle, because when you get the fiber from the fruits and vegetables, you get all the other wonderful advantages that are in the fruit or vegetable. For example, I am very much a proponent of green leafy vegetables rather than, unless you've had a real evidence of blockages in your blood system. Anything that's, like Coumadin or any other blood thinner, eat your green vegetables, the green leafy vegetables. They're far tastier than a pill. Besides which, you get all the other nutrients that are in the vegetables and fruits. So obviously you can tell I'm a proponent of real food. And the real food exists in the produce department and usually around the perimeter of your grocery store. If you have to get something in a can or get a frozen's better. Cans are about number 3 down on the list, and do read the labels. For example, the labeling requirements now require them to put potassium content on a label. And this is very important for people with any kidney issues, especially if someone's on dialysis or has had kidney failure. You don't want a lot of potassium in your diet. So read the labels. I spent 15 minutes or more one day for a client who was on dialysis looking for the lowest amount of the tomatoes that had the lowest amount of potassium in them to find a sauce that he wanted. So there are things in foods that are meant to keep you healthy, and there are some things in some foods that can aggravate certain conditions. And the other thing I just want to mention quickly are something called nightshade vegetables. Are you familiar with those, David?
Yeah, well, we're starting to run out of time here, Ricki, and there's one more topic I want to cover before we close out. So, because you talked about this idea of won't power. Right. And I really want to cover that because I think that's an important, it's an important piece of information. So Marion said, yes, I have terrible reaction to nightshade veggies. So I guess we better talk about that.
Okay. Well, nightshade veggies, I think on top are tomatoes, eggplants, potatoes, not sweet potatoes, regular potatoes, whether it's Yukon, or whatever potatoes, and a number of others. Look them up. Peppers, even sweet peppers, green pepper, red, yellow, orange peppers. Those are all nightshade family vegetables, and they will aggravate probably something like arthritis or any kind of joint problems. The other part of the won't power is it's something that helps you. We've all heard of willpower. Oh, I have the willpower. I can't, it's won't power that will allow you to walk away from something. And no, I won't do that. And you are developing something within you that is very healing and very helpful to your living well. And so if you won't, there's not a struggle. There's no anxiety. You just say, nope, I won't do that. And the
Right.
more you practice that won't power, the easier it'll be for you to let something go. And it applies
Exactly.
to other things besides food, but particularly with foods that aggravate your system.
Right.
Does that
And
help?
so, yeah, so what we're talking about here is developing clear boundaries about
Yeah.
what I will or will not do. And it's okay if your boundaries change from time to time. And in fact, it's probably a good idea to review those boundaries now and then, because it might be the case that something has changed and the boundary no longer makes any sense. So by all means, review your boundaries periodically, but also be willing to honor your boundaries, no matter what they happen to be. That's
Yes.
really the important message here, because
And what
that's all part of being true to who you really are.
exactly?
Right?
Yes. Very important. And the thing is, you don't have to, unless you have a severe allergy or sensitivity to something. I would say don't cross it off your list completely, but don't make it a habit. Don't make it something that
Right.
you eat 2 to 3 times or whenever. Like ice cream every night. Maybe. No.
Well, that
Freeze some
brings up a
yogurt.
really good point.
I've got some recipes, some great recipes for freezing frozen yogurt, which is non-dairy, whether it's from coconut or it's from almonds or even soy.
Right.
We can do
I was just going to
frozen
say
yogurt.
you brought up a good point about allergies and all that kind of stuff. You mentioned gluten before.
Yeah.
And prior to about, I don't even know what year it was, 2005, 2004 timeframe, no one ever heard of gluten sensitivity.
Right.
It's something that is relatively new. And I think Robert Kennedy Jr. has said, well, we know what happened in 2005, 2006. That was the year that glyphosate suddenly became mainstream.
Yeah.
And glyphosate, if you don't know
It's
this, is
poison.
that primary ingredient in Roundup. And Roundup was designed specifically to pretty much kill everything in the vegetation field. Right. And this is why Monsanto and other people like them started inventing genetically modified seeds.
Right.
So they're called Roundup Ready seeds. Now think about the mindset here. Let's create a poison that'll kill everything, and then let's create an antidote to the poison that we only give to the things we want to live. I'm sorry, it makes no sense to me. And the glyphosate in there gets absorbed even by the stuff that we do eat. And that's what's happening, ending up in our bodies. And our bodies now are having a shift in the way they react to different kinds of foods. So gluten itself is not particularly bad for you. It's just the glyphosate has made your body more sensitive to it.
That's one thing. And glyphosate, if anything, is not produced, any vegetable or fruit is not produced organically. And sometimes, unfortunately, the air blows things from one field to another.
Right.
So we have to, that's one of the things that it gets into the fruit or vegetable. And guess who's up the food chain, whether it's your pet or yourself, that gets all those things. And it might have just a little teeny bit, but those little teeny bits, the body has a tendency to accumulate. And especially if it's a pesticide or herbicide, it sticks in your system somewhere. And so if there's a way to avoid any of those things, it's to look at organic. And if you're looking downstream at what's going on with your money, so organic's a little bit more expensive, even if it's $1 per pound, buy less that you can use in a few days or even in one day. And you'll save yourself the misery of having more doctor bills. Because very often, as I say, I get lots of complaints about digestive problems. So do doctors. And one of the things that I found is helping people with their systems, with what they eat, changing some ideas about some of the food they've been eating. Maybe because grandma ate it, it was different then. and helping people understand that food truly is medicine. Food can make you feel really energetic, or it can make you feel like crap and produce all kinds of symptoms like David had with the celery. Overdoing something does that too. But basically, the food and combinations of food make a big difference in how your body responds.
Beautiful, Ricki. Well, with that, I think we have reached our time limit here. This has been an amazing conversation. I think everybody should probably have gotten the idea by now that if you want to have a passionate life, you have to have a healthy life. And if you want to have a healthy life, then you better start thinking about what you put into your body and how you treat yourself. Not just your body, but your mind and your spirit and your heart. How do you treat yourself? And how can you treat yourself with more love so that you can bring more love into the world?
Exactly. Respect your system. It's a miracle of tubes and things. I can't even think of it. I get really passionate about that. But very seriously, take care of your body with good food, clean water, and some sort of spiritual whatever that makes you feel good, and respect yourself. I think Aretha Franklin sang that one.
Yeah, exactly. And so all of this is to help you, my friends, really live the best possible life you can live, to be the person you were intended to be, and to just really know, embrace, express, and experience the full truth of who you really are. That's what this is all about. So I want to thank you, Ricki, so much for being here with me today. I've really enjoyed this conversation. We've covered a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think people are really going to benefit from this. I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank all of you folks for being here on the live show and for sharing your thoughts in the chat. Thank you for that. And for those of you who are watching the recording, thank you too for watching this, because it helps to spread the word. And if you like this video, click that like button, click on the subscribe button, click on the notification bell, and make sure you don't miss my next episode, which is going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. Meanwhile, I'm going to say thank you for being here. And before I go, I want to share my life mastery mantra with you. 3 simple sentences to help you enjoy your life a little bit more. 3 simple sentences. First, I gratefully forgive the imperfect being I have been in the past. I gratefully accept the magnificent being I am right now. I gratefully welcome the evolved being I am becoming in each new moment. So thank you everyone for being here. I wish you love, light, and blessings on your continuing journey. And I'll see you next time on MagnifEssence in Motion. Bye-bye for now.